Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of the GenAI CIO podcast. Siva here, CEO of Lizer AI, an enterprise LLM SDK company using which you can you can build generative AI applications faster. I also have Rishabh joining with me. Rishabh is the Chief Business Officer of GoML.io, which is a custom generative AI application development company. And together we are here to bring you weekly updates on generative AI and LLM news. And in this podcast series, we'll also be interviewing enterprise CIOs, CTOs, and also technology startup founders to bring you ideas and the ways they adopt generative AI in their business. So with that, we'll get started with the very first episode. We have 10 interesting news topics to cover, and this is going to be a free-flowing, I would say, discussion on various things that happened last week. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe to the channel and enable notifications so that we will land, so that we could share updates with you every week. Rishabh and I have committed to this series for the next whole year. So we are probably looking at least 100 videos to come. And we're going to stick to the commitment, irrespective of I would say, the subscribers and the views. So that's our commitment to the podcast series. You could also visit www.thegenaicio.com to view all the podcast videos in one place. So with that, I'll probably have Rishabh start. We're going to alternate the news. I would say Rishabh's going to cover five topics. I'm going to cover five topics. So we're going to be alternating and discussing on the Gen AI stuff. So Rishabh, over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Shiva. And guys, it's really good to be part of this podcast. Looking forward to many such interesting news being shared on this podcast, right? But I'm going to start with a very interesting, update for the week. While obviously the Gen AI world has been flowing with, funding updates, companies as early as, 1 year into their operations getting acquired for $1.3 billion. And I'm pretty sure that everyone knows we are speaking about Mosaic. But there's another very interesting acquisition that happened last week, which was primarily an India-based startup, Rephrase AI, which came into operations in 2019, which was the pre-GPT era, right? And that's how we are now speaking about the whole technology world, the pre-GPT and the post-GPT era, right? So this company was primarily a pre-GPT era company when they had already started developing a very interesting concept, which is AI-powered synthetic video synthesization, right?
Adobe obviously is it like Synthesia?
It is quite similar to that, Shiva, but obviously when they started, GenAI was just picking up transform models not everyone was aware of in the world, right? To the pace that we have today, right? So while they have now incorporated a lot of the components that Synthesia also has today, but the most interesting part of the acquisition, right, Shiva, is for our viewers also is how the whole world is shaping, right? So one obviously is Adobe, as everyone knows, has invested heavily into GenAI since the start of this era, right? Their tools have started focusing into how can you edit images, while obviously Adobe has focused more on the editing rather than on the synthesization side, right? This is a very interesting acquisition for them because this puts them into fourth in the video side, right? Because we've not seen a lot of offerings from Adobe on the video side, except for obviously their video editing capabilities in the past, right? But I think most importantly, Shiva, what we need to understand over here is that, how, or probably this is just one of those acquisitions that's happening, right? And that's why I started off with what happened with Mosaic, right? And Databricks acquiring Mosaic. But while we are very early in the GenAI phase, right? In any kind of a tech transformation, what has happened till date is that there are a lot of boomers that you have in the initial phase of the technology, and then probably slowly the market starts consolidating. But for GenAI to start for this to happen in this type of a market, it's too early, right? Where we're saying that there are a lot of acquisitions happening, consolidation already happening, startups getting shut down, and so on and so forth, right? So I think that's why it's a very interesting development. While definitely we'll have to wait and watch how Adobe consumes Rephrase AI's technology, which is more focused towards video synthesization. But the more interesting piece would be to look at the overall acquisition and the consolidation of the market as it happens?
No, I'm quite excited what Adobe can bring to the table on the video side. I think it is just a natural evolution of how consumers want to consume generative AI, right? And Rishabh, you and I know we are speaking to at least two customers across Lizer and GoML where it's pretty clear that, you know what, they have data and they need chat capabilities which generative AI brings in the form of a chat bot. Then with the likes of Whisper and Element, we're able to bring in the voice capabilities as well, right? And 11 Labs, sorry, 11 Labs and Whisper, we're able to bring in the voice capabilities. And the next frontier is video. Okay, everything is fine. I want a video to come in where I could obviously give the face to the voice. So today, even I saw an interesting tweet by the baby AGI guy. I'm not able to recollect his name, but he actually did a simple demo with Whisper and an app called DID, where he uploaded his own face and it does the lip movement backed by Whisper's AI voice. And that was fantastic. So that's the final frontier. So I'm quite excited if Adobe has this tech available now and integrate that with their suite of products. That's going to complete the whole cycle, and we will probably start seeing some short films made by companies in this way, and then obviously full feature films as well. Runway is probably way ahead in that journey, but this is fantastic. So we have Synthesia, and now this company, Rephrase AI by Adobe. We have DID, we have Runway. Yeah, it's pretty exciting to see. And customers have more options. That's what we love eventually. They have more options to enjoy generative AI, right? So to enjoy GPT and what Claude brings to the table. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. Shiva, and this is something that I really love speaking about to my clients as well, right? As you are aware, while we always speak about the technology on this front, right? That there's some technology that's getting added, but what I'm very keen on seeing with this, acquisition happening is players like Rephrase, right, or probably players like Mosaic, bringing in the tech aspect of it, where they've actually mastered these models and so on, right? But when they become part of larger ecosystems like Adobe or Databricks, who have been closer to the customers, right? Who they've been there, like Adobe at least has been there for decades now, right? Solving actual business problems. What I'm really interested in seeing with these acquisitions is how do they leverage this tech to solve actual business problems with clients, right? How do they make it more customer centric rather than taking a tech first approach, right? So that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, we don't want another a mosaic kind of a scenario within Databricks, really, right? We really want, I mean, ideally, the speed at which Mosaic was moving, like you mentioned earlier, we should have had multiple MPT models out by now, which was very unfortunate to see that it's not happening. And I have the same criticism for Streamlit as well. A fantastic app, Snowflake acquired. Streamlit by now should be a far more capable application wrap around Python, which it is not right now. It is still, I mean, there is still no user authentication, native user authentication built in for Streamlit apps. So pretty disappointed. Hopefully this doesn't turn out that way. Adobe kind of makes a real good product out of this. So yeah, fantastic.
I'm going
First
to
news.
put a pin to that update, right, Shiva, and probably towards the second half of the podcast would love to discuss. So one is acquisitions happen to add capabilities, right? But then companies like Adobe who've been dabbling with transform models for ages now, right? It's not like they're new to it. The second one is to kill competition, right? So are these acquisitions moving to that extent or certain probably in that area, right? So would want to put a pin into that and let's discuss it towards the second half of the podcast.
Possible. Cool. Fantastic. First topic. Second one is something that I'll cover, which obviously a lot of you already know. It's already old news because it's 2 weeks old now. It's the whole OpenAI saga, but Rishabh did really want to discuss on this, so let's just do that.
Yeah.
So you all know a quick recap. OpenAI fired Sam Altman, removed Greg Brockman from the board role and moved him to a kind of a senior role, just a management role. And then the whole thing kind of got into a snowball effect where OpenAI employees started saying that they want to quit. We saw Google and Salesforce trying to poach, rather give extend offers to OpenAI employees, even Cohere, many people joined. Anthropic, many of them joined. We had the ex Twitch CEO, the Twitch guy, kind of asked to come on board as a CEO. And briefly, I think we had even Meera Murati, the CTO, as the interim CEO. And then this Twitch guy wanted to do a town hall meeting, which no one turned out to. So eventually, it was very clear that there was an internal revolt. The board was under a lot of pressure, and then now we see Sam Altman and Greg Brockman returning to the company with the board kind of almost removed, except I think for Adam D'Angelo, who's the Quora founder, who was under a lot of criticism, by the way, because they had built an app called Poe, and the GPT builder, which OpenAI launched during the dev day, was a direct competition to Poe, and a lot of speculation that he kind of played a role. There was also another angle to this with Ilya, the power struggle or the ego fight between Ilya, who's the chief scientist, and Sam Altman. That was another reason. But but the interesting part is all of this kind of finally went towards the direction of one of the board member, who's Helen, who is an active figure in the AI space. She wrote I think a news article or a paper around why Anthropic's probably is really good at handling safety in the Gen AI space compared to OpenAI and stuff. There's some criticism which Sam did not like, and he kind of took it to Helen, and there was some friction there. So all this kind of led to the firing of Sam Altman and Brockman. But the latest news emerging is, hey, you know what? The firing could have been purely because of this AGI aspect that apparently or allegedly they've invented AGI or discovered AGI, however you want to put it across, and they allude to this algorithm called Q star, which is a combination of Q search and A star. I wrote a detailed blog post about this, both in Lizer.ai and GoML.ai. You can obviously go and check that. But we will cover more on that. But this is what happened so far. We'll discuss more on Q star as well. So Rishabh, over to you. What's your take on this whole saga?
First of all, being a Lord of the Rings fan, it's an absolute perfect return of the king, as we call it, right? So in the world of the Lotter fans, but see, Shiva, so obviously I think, as I wrote on my LinkedIn channel as well, the day he got fired, that it's just a matter of time he comes back. Well, obviously, it took 12 years for the Apple CEO to come back. Jack Dorsey took 6 years to come back. He came back in 5 days, right? So that's definitely commendable. But I think the biggest thing to learn over here, right, is where is OpenAI moving towards, right? So while they did start as a, non-profit organization, right, but then we've seen exits in the past because there was merger exits of, the likes of Elon Musk, where they moved into a profitable organization, right? And obviously the focus that, Sam Altman today has is, how do we probably make it, if not a profitable organization, but at least probably to bring in some money from the perspective, as we all know, that running money hand over fist, right? Is it time for OpenAI to sit down and probably set their priorities right? Because it's very critical moving forward, right? How do they want to be seen in the market, right? Do they want to be seen as a tech innovator which is contributing to the communities and constantly probably have certain, like what Google does today, right? While they are the money-making proposition, but they contribute heavily to the open source side, right? So one is, do they want to be seen as a tech innovator, versus do they want to be seen as a partner with the likes of, Microsoft and the Amazons or the Googles of the world, where they are actively still contributing, but still as a profitable or a money-making organization like the other, tech world. I think it's very critical for them to sit down and think about that. Very critical, obviously, for people like Sam Altman to be brought into these conversations, because they are spearheading this, right? But one more perspective that I definitely would want to bring in over here is that if we look at it, right, and hats off to Satya Nadella for his thinking on feet, right? Companies like Microsoft today, right, obviously cannot build technologies like GPT today. It's not like they don't have capabilities, right? And I'm pretty sure, Shiva, you would have known what happened with Tay way back, right? The bot that they had released, right? They had to take it down in a couple of days, became racist, etc., etc. So companies like Microsoft cannot build technology like GPT today. Again, as I mentioned, not because they don't have
But
capabilities, but
there are a lot of Microsoft fans. Be careful the statement that you make. There are a lot of Microsoft fans. We even have one in our circle as well. You know him. So
absolutely, yes. No, no, I'm nothing against Microsoft. Obviously, we are partners. We love working with Microsoft, the technology that they bring in. But I'm speaking about the kind of problems that these such technologies bring on board, right?
is it more of a culture and mindset thing that you're highlighting? Okay.
No, no, no. I'm not even speaking about the culture, right? It's a risk as an organization, as an enterprise that they'll have to take to build something as big as GPT. And if it goes wrong, what happens to the brand, right? So now today, what has happened is with Sam Altman being back, Microsoft has a seat in the board itself now, right?
Do
While
they?
they will
Do they?
not
I
be,
don't think they have yet.
they don't,
They
they don't.
still.
That's what they don't actively have, right? While I think Nadella had probably, or probably there was some kind, but they don't have active seat. But more or less, if you see, most of the board has changed, the reshuffling has happened, and now probably the things will change, right? So now Microsoft is working with a tech partner, providing the right arms from tech perspective. But at the same time, as I highlighted, what I'm trying to highlight over here is that they're leveraging GPT to probably build something which is very beautiful, right? So I think these two perspectives, one is they really need to understand what they want to be seen at, and number two, the play that Microsoft had in this whole thing, right? So these are the two perspectives that would be very critical to see in the moving days, right, from this update.
No, good. I mean, yeah, the fact that you brought in Microsoft, it was pretty interesting on that angle as well. I was, I think, speaking to someone, I said, if Sam Altman managed to join Microsoft and lead their AGI team, I mean, Satya probably had the next Microsoft CEO in Sam Altman. I don't know if Sam wants to do that. His mindset is more of doing something even bigger. I think he's looking into nuclear power generation and stuff. I'm not sure he would want to do that, but at least I was saying to somebody, you know what, probably Satya Nadella can even look at this as a grooming opportunity to groom Sam to take up even a much bigger role. That was one interesting thing. But if you see the news emerges that Sam went to Middle East to meet with investors to raise funds so that they can build a chip company, which you already know they're in discussion, so that they don't have to rely on Microsoft servers or NVIDIA for hardware. So Sam's mindset, according to me, is actually he wants to be free of all these clutches and things that are kind of weighing upon them, possibly. So that's why he wants to. He did have to take that money from Microsoft, giving away 50% because there is no other go for OpenAI to get to where it is today. But I think that the whole chip angle, the iPhone angle, they got the chief iPhone designer as well to work with him and build a new phone, an I would say, powered phone or AI as the center, or like Karpati says, LLM as the operating system. So a lot of things might open up. So there are two sects. There is an AI doom and there's an AI bloom sect already. I am on the AI bloom side, which is, I mean, AI bloom for good. I agree, safety is important. The existence of humanity is even more important, like Elon keeps saying about it. But I would want to be on the AI bloom side to see if these things can happen in our lifetime so that we kind of die peacefully and happily that, you know what, we saw something really, really special during our lifetime. So I'm on the bloom
Absolutely.
side. I am all in for Sam and Greg and OpenAI team to go and do things at a pace that other companies don't do. I mean, who's the next biggest one? Anthropic? And they're nowhere near. They just launched their 200K contract, which we'll speak about in some time. They are nowhere near with the kind of innovation or the kind of open, I would say, experience products that OpenAI is building. Google is like, oh my God, Google is a story altogether, a different story altogether. So if there is someone who's really, really adding a lot of value and excitement to this generative AI space, it's OpenAI. So yeah, I mean, I would just want them to keep this juggernaut growing, probably moving even faster, to be honest.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm also part of that, contingent, which is AI boom, right? as Andrew NG says, right, the AI is not going to take our jobs, right? The people who use AI or GenAI primarily are going to take our jobs, right? But yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think at this point, and that's why I probably have started my statement, is they really need to probably, as a company, they really need to decide and give all the support, whichever direction they want to take. One, obviously, is tech innovators, because that's what they're known for in the market, right? And you rightly mentioned, right, that they definitely need dollars for that, and that's what Sam Altman is working towards. So I'm just super happy that he's back, right? And as early as he can be, right? So looking forward for those updates, right?
Great.
Moving on to the next, while obviously this was the most spoken over topic, moving on to the next.
Time consuming one. So in the interest of time, we need to move fast on the next few topics.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think I can speak about this topic for another hour, but yeah. Moving on to a more interesting one, while obviously I don't think so this was in the headlines, but a very interesting team up that actually happened last week, which is primarily a Roche subsidiary, Genentech, which are primarily into drug discovery, new drug creation, development, and so on and so forth. They played a huge role in the whole COVID vaccination development also, right? Well, obviously, what they want to do, companies like Roche today, right, would definitely want to leverage GenAI to the extent that for the benefit of new drug discovery, the benefits of healthcare, providing better healthcare to probably people who cannot afford it, and so on and so forth. But one of the biggest areas today, obviously, as I think we were discussing the other day also, is that it's not about the technology, it's about the hosting or making that technology sustainable, right? So in case of GenAI, it's the infrastructure that makes it sustainable heavily, right? So what Genentech has done in the last week is they've teamed up with NVIDIA, right, where they are going to use these DGX servers from NVIDIA primarily in accelerating this whole drug development piece, right? So very interesting development. While what we've seen till now happening is that one tech company has been partnering with another. Like I think we were speaking about one acquisition at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Where companies are acquiring platforms to add to their tech skills. But this is an all-in-all match made in heaven, where Genentech brings in the technology perspective of it, the domain perspective of it, right? Well, obviously, NVIDIA now provides them the right platform to probably run this at a scale and provide outputs faster and more affordably, right? So I think I'm really excited about this. While obviously the work will start in a couple of days, but this is a very brilliant announcement, or one of its announcements, right?
Okay, great. Do you have any customer conversations happening in this field yet?
So we do a lot of healthcare work, Shiva, right? As you might be aware, right? But obviously, right, what we are doing today is in the
Probably
healthcare
too early.
space is more of pilots that we're doing.
Too early. Okay.
Exactly, right? So for at least a lot of these customers, the interesting part is that they've identified use cases that can be solved with GenAI. I'm really happy about that, right? Well, obviously, these scaling conversations are a little immature, sorry, right, to have. But yeah, at least they are very clear about. In fact, healthcare I've seen is one of those areas where they're very clear about the use cases that they want to solve.
Got it. Cool. Nice update. The next one is, I think, by Claude. So when all this whole saga was happening, Rishabh and I actually saw in real time customers reaching out, worried about the actual existence of OpenAI itself as a company, because the media was going crazy. The Twitter media was going even crazier. People are speaking about the $90 billion valuation being completely kind of ripped off to a 5 billion or 4 billion valuation, whatever that is. So obviously things were not nice at that point in time. So a lot of our customers reached out and said, hey, we want to explore Claude or Llama 2 or other models like Mistral, for example. So there was an increased interest towards Claude because they're probably the second best capable model. And right at the time, Anthropic came out and announced their 200K context window. I mean, they did make news earlier with the 100K context window way back. Now they have this 200K context window. This is on the heels of OpenAI launching GPT-4 Turbo, which comes with 128K context window. So the bigger context, okay, good for marketing. But my take, I'm working on this on day in and day out. I can tell you that bigger context is not necessarily good for you. It is good for synthesization, right? You have hundreds of PDF documents, for you to synthesize, which is fine, but definitely not good as a language model when it comes to querying back or when it comes to generating new stuff. It doesn't help there. It's just decent for the models to understand. And Greg Camrad actually did a fantastic, I would say, needle in haystack stress test on Claude, and he was able to figure out that I think the retrieval was kind of 100% at about 77K tokens, which is like probably only 33% of the overall token limit. So context limit actually, so token limit, sorry. So yeah, I would say, I mean, yeah, it's okay. They made some news, but this did not necessarily change the customer's mind on moving to Anthropic. What actually changed was all the drama that was happening on the OpenAI side. But yeah, I mean, I just hope that these larger context window launches also comes with good performance as well, which has to go hand in hand. So hopefully, Anthropics and OpenAIs and other companies stop focusing on context window rather than focus more on the quality of retrieval, the quality of performance of the model in itself. That's the news on Anthropic.
Absolutely. I think I back you completely on that. See, two perspectives, right? One, obviously, it should not be a race on content, and that's what's happening right now, right? That, GPT-4 came in with a larger context window, then Claude V2 came in with that, 100K context window. Then GPT-4 Turbo came in, then Claude V2 point. So it should not be a power of context windows, right? Now, there are two problems that I see, and especially in the client conversations today, right? And that's where customers really need to understand this technology, or at least, speak to enablers who understand this technology well, right? Just increasing the context window doesn't solve your problem, right? And that's what, one of the kinds that we're speaking to now that we have V2.1, right? I can just put all the data I have into probably the prompt and then probably, get the problem solved. It does not. And so one thing that we've actually seen, I think this is backed by research as well, especially with Turbo, right? What we've seen is that the moment you're actually, and that's how your transformer models work, right? They don't look at the overall context, but probably concentrate on the beginning and the end, and then probably
Correct. Yeah, they're weak in the middle. They're
exactly.
either, I mean, I would say good at the top retrieval or good at the bottom, actually, right? So yeah, and OpenAI and Anthropic that way is like direct inverse, right? So I think OpenAI does well at the top and Anthropic does well at the bottom, or vice versa, something like that. But yeah.
So the problem, or it should not become a context window race, it should be more of an accuracy rate. That's what's happening between the two, or it appears to be happening between the two giants, right? And number two is that we need to understand the technology better before jumping into conclusions, right? With these probably type of developments. I think that's very critical.
Good. I think I would probably recommend people to follow Greg Camrad. We will obviously add the link in the description here. He does some amazing needle in haystack, I would say, tests on these large models. A must follow person. Okay, next, Amazon PartyRock. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting update again, and this just shows the kind of innovation that all the hyperscalers are moving towards, right? Well, obviously, AWS's focus of introducing PartyRock was to give GPT builder some kind of a competition, right? So first of all, let me explain what PartyRock does, and then we'll dive deeper into it. So PartyRock is primarily a GenAI powered platform that Amazon has released, and it's built on their GenAI offering Bedrock, where with just a few simple prompts, right, you can actually build applications, right? Workflow based applications, and so on and so forth, right? So the idea that obviously Amazon had was how can they probably start countering some of these offerings from GPT, right? And one of these offerings primarily, which is PartyRock, is to counter GPT builder, at least at their extent, right?
What's the LLM that powers?
Sorry, sure.
What's the LLM that powers PartyRock?
So this is actually, Amazon is a big fan of the Titan models and Anthropic, right? And the grapevine is that this is powered completely by Anthropic, which is primarily Claude V2, right, at this point. Titan obviously has very limited set of models. Anyone who's aware of Bedrock, it provides you only close to 3 to 4 options like summarization, NLP models, and so on and so forth, which are not production ready yet, right? But yeah, I think the origin of Bedrock was very interesting, and there was an announcement by Adam Selipsky on his LinkedIn channel how they came up with this idea, right? So when they launched Bedrock, or when they GA'd Bedrock, probably 3 months back, they saw a lot of prompts coming on Bedrock, primarily where customers were trying to create these applications, like workflow powered applications and so on and so forth. And this is what they actually use to train PartyRock, right? The initial version of PartyRock that they've actually released, right? So while, is it as capable as GPT Builder? It's yet to be seen, right? But yeah, that's the strategy that at least Amazon is moving towards with very interesting developments. Bedrock, anyhow, has become very favorite. Shiva, we are working with a lot of clients where they're seeing a lot of use of Bedrock because it gives you an enterprise level, Gen AI managed service, right? Yeah, so I think
No,
it'll be very
see,
good to see how
I,
PartyRock
I have
comes.
a I have a controversial statement here to make. I won't buy the theory that Amazon came up with the idea or etc. I'll tell you, see, GPT, I mean, OpenAI saw what Poe did, and Poe obviously saw what some developer in GitHub would have done. I mean, that's how the whole thing works. I mean, I can tell you, I mean, there are at least a couple of founders that I'm following in Twitter. There is this PDF.ai guy who was one of the very first person to build a chat bot on a PDF, like document search or chat with PDF option, right? It's all RAG model. And then I also follow this guy who runs chatbase.co, which is a website chatbot development platform. Like you can build a chatbot for your website and integrate in matter of minutes. Now, these two guys, I think it was early 2023 when they built these apps, and I think Chatbase has already crossed $1 million in ARR in about 5, 7, 8 months now. And PDF.ai, I think he just announced that he had about 500,000 users who are using the platform. Now, if you see Poe or GPT Builder or PartyRock, or just, I mean, according to me, inspirations from these, I mean, startup ideas, I mean, like them and many other startups that were built. So it's, I know it's controversial, but that is unfortunately in my scenario, I see them as true. The real innovation or ideas come from these indie developers and startups who kind of come out and build fast and ship fast and validate fast. I mean, they get to validate the idea even faster. And then the big companies with a lot of money, they have the distribution power. They can just copy and they can continue. So yeah, I know they are partners. I love Amazon, I love AWS, I love OpenAI, but it is what it is. That's my take.
No, absolutely. And see, a lot of times, Shiva, and I agree with, first of all, what you said. It's not their idea, right? It's primarily what they saw with the prompts, what's happening in the industry. Like as Zakir mentioned, probably this a move to probably counter GPT Builder, right? But sometimes, and at least in the space like GenAI, which is moving so fast, catching up game is also a good strategy, right? But if you're able to catch it up with better technology, right? I think you're definitely the winner, at least in this type of a space, right? So yeah.
Cool. Nice. Congrats, Amazon, on the PartyRock launch. What next? We have the voice feature. Yeah, go ahead, Rishabh.
So yeah, so I think this is again while GPT is now focusing to build a multimodal model, not focusing probably now open that multimodal model for their customers. While obviously all of us know they release Dolly for all the paid customers and so on and so forth, right? But I think voice is something that is now it is, and that's where the world is moving. Most of the use cases, Shiva, we also speak to our customers is that one is text, right, which is primarily a medium to interact. But from adaptability perspective, what they are asking, what most of the customers are asking is an omni-channel type of an experience, which includes voice, right? And with GenAI, what has happened is that it's primarily you're not focusing on training these models or translation of these models, right? You're working more towards implementation because these models are much more accurate, right? So Chat now GPT, unveiling this voice feature across all the platforms now is very interesting. But one more interesting thing is that you can actually interact with these different actor inspired voices and again they've not used the actual voices, they've actually generated these voices again, right? So I think they've used currently 5 unique actor voices that you can
Six.
interact.
Yeah, six, like Alloy
Okay.
and all of that. Yes, six. Yeah.
Correct. And all these are inspired voices, and they're actually not referring to them as actor voices, the actual actor voices, because they've generated these voices, right? So yeah, so it's just very interesting to probably see how we leverage this, but brilliant update since from the accessibility perspective, because that's what most of the customers are demanding from adaptability perspective, right?
Yeah, no, I think we spoke about this a little earlier in the same podcast. I think Whisper, I mean, again, from based on my experimentation so far, Whisper is superb when it comes to transcribing. And transcribing is even more important than the text-to-speech conversion, because you need to get the input right for you to get the output right. So transcribing Whisper is right on top. 11 Labs and Google, obviously, they follow. They're the next ones in the list. The interesting thing about the text-to-speech, the voice thing, is the modulation, the way it speaks, the way it passes. There is, if you really listen carefully, there are some weightages provided and given to the words that it speaks. So when it's a heavy word in terms of its meaning, etc., the way it modulates, the way it passes, I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, that's why I love OpenAI, because they make people fall in love with the generative AI, not hate it, rather love it. Like more people who start loving the platform. Yeah,
Absolutely.
fantastic
And
update. Looking to see what happens. Yeah.
And just one last point right there, Shiva, is a lot of these use cases are not new, right? So we were solving a lot of, as you're aware, right? In our previous stint, we were solving, voice to text, text to voice, document extraction, knowledge extraction, etc., right? Loans processing and whatnot, right? Through these ML algorithms, Python libraries and whatnot, right? So none of these use cases are new, right? I think the way these use cases are being solved has been revolutionized completely by GenAI, right? And I always put this to my clients as well, right? That earlier when you build such systems, you probably spend 20% time building and 80% time, improving the accuracy of these systems, right? And I remember probably working on one of these projects where we spent 6 months just building the accuracy of the systems, right?
Yeah.
From the perspective. That's what GenAI has changed completely. Now you spend 20% of the time of sorry, 80% of the time just building the use case, going live, etc., and just 20% time on building the accuracy of this system. So that's what's making it very exciting now.
I mean, fantastic point that you made. There is a message for builders, for startups. Don't spend your time on fine tuning or building a model, or trying to get this right, because there are big companies doing bigger things, getting that right by spending millions of dollars. Probably we should have a 2 minutes of silence for all those companies who are building fine tuning startups or LLM startups. There were a bunch of Y Combinator companies doing that. Um, it is common sense. We know, I mean, we can see the amount of money that is required. The recent blog, I would say the YouTube video by Karpathy is fantastic, and he clearly explains, right? Even to train a base model like Llama, the very first model of Llama, I mean, you would need $2 million. So why would you as a startup burn all your innovation money, building money in that actually? So yeah, fantastic point that you touched. uh, Let us sit back and build on top of the stack. Don't try and build the stack. It's unnecessary. If Google can't get it right, why should we even think about it? I mean, unless and until there is something really required or specialized for a pharma company, for a research thing, I agree. But otherwise, just trying to build a competing platform to compete with OpenAI and etc. It's not required. Let the big boys do this stuff.
Make the technology more consumable, I think, is what the focus should be for
Yeah,
enterprise, at
exactly.
least. We're focusing on
Exactly.
that.
For startups and enterprise, correct.
Absolutely, yeah.
What's the next one we have?
I
Bard
think,
AI.
yeah. So very again, see, this is and while this was not again big in the news, especially I think Google is missing out the Gen AI news a lot, right? But
Yeah.
this was a very critical update, very important update, and I would what I'd be more interested is how they market this, right? Or how do they make this very consumable for users? Because at one point, YouTube is there's nothing to be told about it, right? Everyone uses you. It's one of the most adapted platforms in the tech world, right? But on the other hand, the new update that they've given, which is now Bard AI, allows you to probably ask questions directly on videos, right? Which is they've automated transcription completely, right? How do they probably make that part more consumable on one of the most adopted platforms across, right? That will be it's a very good technology update, right, Shiva? And I really feel, at least for a person like me,
No,
who
it's
does
too
like build,
late. No, it's
exactly.
too. This was the
But
pet project that I built called the ycbot.com. What did I do? I
I
took what?
remember, yeah.
Yeah, I took about 40 videos of Y Combinator startup school videos where you have Gary Tan and Michael Siebel and all of them speak. I took those videos, transcribed them, loaded them onto a RAG engine, which is powered by VV8 database. I love the VV8 Vector DB, by the way. so easy to use for even an intermediate coder like me who started coding this year. But yeah, I mean, I did it. A lot of people have done it. We even
Absolutely.
have a free SDK from Lizer, where you can just build a chatbot on any YouTube video. Google is like, I mean, I'm a bit disappointed to be honest that Google is doing this as a big release, as an innovation. But I agree with you. I mean, there are like 99.9999% of people who haven't tasted AI yet. So for all of them, it'll be fantastic. I agree. Yeah, that's
What I'm excited about it, Shiva, you mentioned, and that's why I started. I'm not happy. I'm not excited about the tech that they've released, right? Honestly, as you mentioned, this was solved way back, right? What I'm really excited about is they have a huge distribution engine, right? It's sitting on massive distribution engine over here. How do they leverage that distribution engine for adoption of
yeah.
BART? Finally, would be very interesting to see.
I mean,
I've really not seen any kind of updates on YouTube coming in. This was a news article that I was going through in my news digest. So that's what I'm really interested. How do they leverage this distribution channel?
I think it reminds me another topic, Grok, which Elon launched. I mean to play on it, probably we'll cover in the next week's news, next week's episode. But there's an advantage that Grok has, which is it it is getting this real-time prompt completion model or conversation model from Twitter,
Mhm.
which other platforms don't have, right? In Twitter is more, I mean, you say something, I say something, it's very conversational, and Grok has that data to train. Now, similarly, if YouTube Q&A really picks up, and if
Yeah.
more and more people start asking questions to YouTube videos, now that can be a fantastic training ground, which ideally Google should sell to OpenAI, so OpenAI can continue to build their models better, because I don't think Google is going to get anywhere with this. There is something fundamentally wrong in building models. But with jokes aside, this is a fantastic data that Google can really use to power their rebranded, which is Gemini, I think, and launch the model. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that
They're
point
pretty
that,
late on Gemini also, but let's see how that goes.
yeah, but I agree with you on the point that massive distribution power, fantastic opportunity to get. I think Google and YouTube and Twitter are nowhere near in terms of the distribution. So if YouTube can get these questions, the real questions by users in multiple languages from all over the world, that's a massive training data set in itself. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Like, I mean, just imagine getting it natively on your YouTube app, right? While, whatever models have been built today, you'll have to integrate and so on. I mean, it's a massive opportunity that they have to make a comeback in the GenAI space. Let's see how they do it.
Yeah. So next news, Stability AI. So yeah, I mean, I think we spoke about the video part already, but this is slightly different from the Synthesia or the what is it? Rephrase? What was that? The other one?
Rephrase, yeah, correct.
Rephrase, right? This is slightly different because this is more on the runway side or the mid-journey, what mid-journey also trying to do, which is get into the video animation, AI video aspect, not animation, but AI video generation. More not a personality based, but more of a kind of like a feature film, kind of a scene, kind of multiple things that it could do. So Stability has launched. They've been under, I mean, Stability as a company has been under the pump, given the fact that Midjourney is doing really well, and even DALL-E, which has kind of taken the market by storm, because again the distribution power that you kind of mentioned. So I have to kind of play around and see how good it is. I cannot comment on it right now, but good that more and more companies are moving towards the video space. I think I think in 2024 we might probably have our first AI generated a full feature film with a good script and watchable, not like some some I would say low budget movies, but actually a good movie with good script, which can probably be the first multi-million dollar grosser actually. So let's really hope 2024 brings us a fantastic movie that way.
I think on the feature film point, I'm not sure if you heard this, but Salma Hayek sold her rights to an AI model to a company primarily to, leverage her whole personality, face, voice for generating these AI films, right? So on and so forth, right? she's become the first star to do that, right? But I think what would be more interesting again is, as I've been highlighting since the beginning of this podcast, is how do we leverage some of these to build these viable use cases, right? And how do you manage the creation of that content across licensing, infringement laws, and so on and so forth, right? So whatever content you're creating, right, how do you probably ensure? Because today, if I actually go and watch a feature film, I probably go and a lot of other people go and watch it for a particular set, be it, set of actors, be it sort of be the director, right, and so on, so on, and then story comes into picture, right? So how do we leverage some of these real characters, like the Salma Hayek example that I gave, right? How do we leverage some of these real characters to build these things, right? Would be very interesting play.
Cool. That's a good update. Oh, I didn't know that she sold
Yeah.
digital AI rights, whatever rights. Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
correct. So she sold it for some $400 million, if I'm not getting the numbers wrong, but yeah, that's definitely worth for
Wow.
the
Yeah. Cool. That's nice. That's the power of movies and stars, movie stars. So number
Absolutely.
9 in the list we have is an interesting, I would say, a GitHub repo called Screenshots to Code, which everyone should try. So all you have to do is share the screenshot. There is an API as well that you can sign up for free, which takes you the screenshot of a website. Then that screenshot is fed to this code, which actually starts writing the actual code replicating. And the best part is it writes, checks, compares. Basically, it continues to compare the new screen developed by the code versus the actual original screenshot, and then it recursively improves eventually to a level where it is acceptable. I think, and this is just the very first, I would say, beginning of the no-code revolution that's going to happen in the app development space as well. Or rather, no-code is already happening. I would say the revolution where programmers lose their job. So because this is crazy, and if this continues to evolve, but it's a fantastic pet project that everyone should kind of work on and try and work. Yeah, yeah. This is something that caught my eye this week, and yeah.
There was part of this debate, right, Shiva, that was happening on Reddit a few weeks. While I did not actively participate, I was, constantly reading through, which was nothing around, people losing job and so on and so forth. But the debate primarily was that there's been low code and no code apps, for quite some time now, right? But still, there are companies, massive companies surviving in this area who develop applications, right? And a lot of these companies have developed businesses developing applications leveraging these low code and no code versions, right? So while there's one business model that they've developed leveraging these low code no code versions, now you have the co-pilots of the world, the code whisperers of the world. You just mentioned a very good update and so on and so forth, right? So is this a good business opportunity for companies to leverage? That's the debate primarily about, right? Or, right, this just makes, as you mentioned, the whole, the whole coding piece or the job of a coder irrelevant, right? So that was a very interesting debate that was actually going on Reddit, right? While, I do feel, for leveraging some of this technology, right, and the low code and the no code versions, as well as this technology, you still need some kind of a tech acumen, right? You need not be a technologist, but you definitely need some kind of an acumen, right? And not everyone will have that acumen. So I do feel probably it's not a revolution where some part of a job will completely become irrelevant, right? But it definitely does change the way the whole tech industry works, right? So while I do feel it will not take away probably a lot of jobs, but it will definitely change the whole paradigm, the way people work.
I mean, it's interesting. I think Sam Altman made this bold statement that the average programmers will be replaced. The average white collar workers will be replaced by AI. And yeah, if the tech is gonna move this fast, I think that's gonna happen. I mean, there is always demand for high quality stuff, which will continue. Just that AI is gonna push the bar of high quality even further. It has to be highest quality, not even high quality. Rest all AI could take care. So yeah, that leads us into probably the last topic of this podcast. I know it's been a long one, but we'll try and make it more crisp. Pardon us, this is the first time. The last one is Q star, which is kind of inviting a lot of debates. There are a lot of amazing videos there in the market, in the video, in YouTube, sorry. I follow this podcaster, David Shapiro, fantastic coverage on AI things, especially on Q-Star is a fantastic video as well. So I'll explain quickly in layman's term what Q-Star is. I wrote a blog about it as well. Q-Star stands for Q Learning plus A Star Search. Q Learning is nothing but I mean, it's like I would say like RLHF, reinforced learning, human feedback, but instead of human feedback is an AI feedback. So at each and every point, it kind of understands what is the best, I would say, outcome. I mean, what's the learning, right? For it to have the best outcome. So it learns at every node. Imagine you are, say, cooking, actually. So at each and every step in your cooking process, it kind of learns from its experience. Hey, you know what? I added probably tomato sauce before adding the pasta sauce. So, I mean, Alfredo sauce, for example. I know tomato and Alfredo doesn't go well, but I'm just giving you an example, bad example here, or olive oil, whatever that is. So it does based on learning what it learned previously. Now that is an algorithm. It is few decades old. I think it was the first paper was written in 1960s, so few decades old. But then the real beauty is blending that with the A star search, which is another algorithm, which is again few decades old. But what does A star does? At every node, it traverses the whole length and breadth to figure out what is the best path forward. While Q learning is more of learning based on experience and the outcome. A star focuses more on simulating the whole path to see what is the next best step to do. So which tomato sauce to add, which will result in a better tasting dish. So or what so that's how A star search works. Now when A star search and Q learning I mean gets together, that's where Q star the magic happens. So Q star apparently uh, exhibits I mean, apparently, when you say I have not seen, not many people have seen, but from what Sam Altman spoke, which is kind of touted as a reason that he was kind of uh, ousted from the company because he did not share that with the board members. So basically, what QStar does is it does reasoning to a level where it is able to exhibit reasoning. I mean, I would say consciousness, right? Capabilities. Obviously, consciousness is AGI, and we know we are probably we at least I believe we are few years away. But if Q star can exhibit those capabilities, the reasoning capabilities, that's because of the combination of these two algorithms. And another point here is they say, okay, what do you mean by reasoning capabilities? I mean, do you have a proof point? So there are early experiments. The paper, at least the internal paper, shows that Q star is able to do math really, really, really well, right? Now we already know that generative AI is fantastic from a text standpoint. It can produce amazing amount, I mean, high quality text like human, better than most average humans as well when it comes to English or the language that they speak. Now add compute capability, math capability to it. That's where the AI apparently gets its, I would say, reasoning capabilities. So that's the whole, I would say, hot discussion around Q star, how Q learning and A star comes into picture. I've explained again a little better in my blog post in Liza.ai and Go. I mean, it's available in both places. But yeah, that's this is a space to watch for. I think Rishabh, you and I might probably speak about Q star for a couple more weeks to come, at least, if not the rest of our life, because if it is AGI, then it is AGI. We don't know. So that's Q star for you guys.
But absolutely brilliant update. Thanks, Shiva, for that. And apparently, as you highlighted, this was one of the reasons why, Sam Altman was fired. So, guys, AI can take away your job.
We don't
Azo.
know. No, we don't know. It is
I'm saying it was
probably
one of the, yeah,
yeah.
one
If
of
you
the
give
reasons,
weights,
right?
if you give weights, probably this has the highest weight. Yeah.
So, I mean, the only, joke that I was trying to make is that AI can take away your job as it did for Sam Altman. Like, so yeah, but good update. Thanks, Shiva, for that.
Nice. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic episode. We covered, at least I enjoyed it very first time doing a podcast with you, Rishabh. I really did really like it. 10 points we covered. We'll cover 10 other topics next week. We'll try and kind of get this out every Sunday probably. Right? Today we got a bit late because of Thanksgiving weekend. But yeah, guys, if you like, subscribe to the channel and enable the notification so that you get notified when we launch release a video, which is at least once every week. We are going to also mix it up with a few more CIO interviews, CTO interviews, and tech startup founder interviews. And I promise that we will keep it shorter next time. This is our first time, so please pardon, obviously. And the interviews will be strictly 30 minutes because we want to cover more topics in 30 minutes, more structured in way. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to share on the topic part. Rishabh, closing thoughts.
I think no, again, I think next time we'll be very precise. And we're going to bring in very interesting use cases in some of the next podcasts. As Shiva mentioned, we're going to bring in some tech founders that we're actually working with who are solving very good use cases, right? So from a horse's mouth, I think. Good update, good start, right? Next time, very precise, good updates we're going to bring to you. So thanks so much for joining in. Again, if you liked it, do subscribe.
Thanks. Take care. Until next time.